Right. If you like what the UK column does, you would like to support us, then please have a look at support.ukcolumn.org. There are options to help us there. We do need your support. It's £5 a month if you want to be a member. Of course, that gives you access to UK Column News Extra, which we will be on straight after this news program. If you would like to share our material, we would very much appreciate that as well. Of course, we are increasingly censored, and you can act as the algorithm for us. So ukcolumn.org and UK Column Extracts are the place to go for that. You can pick something up at the UK Column shop. And thank you very much again to everybody that is either a member or has picked up a copy of Your Life in Their Hands. There's still copies available if you would like to get hold of one. If you haven't got it yet, please do so. Debbie, your blog will be up this afternoon. What do we get to look forward to this week?
Well, you get my observations on Paris 2024 opening ceremony. Maybe there's some things in there that perhaps you haven't noticed. And who's heard of SIPRI, Stockholm International Peace Research Institute? Perhaps maybe a new segment coming up on that. And also, dementia cases expected to almost triple across the world by 2050. I wonder why that could be. So that and plenty more.
Okay, thank you. A reminder of the Gutsy Women interview between Brian and Natasha McCallum. That's on the website. It went out at 1 p.m. yesterday, of course, but it is up on the website now. So if you haven't seen that yet, do have a look. This was looking at the inside of Fornethy House. And everybody should be aware of that particular campaign that's ongoing at the moment to get the women that were apparently abused in Fornethy House some justice. Finally, now I just mention the October event, 19th of October 2024. The tickets are on sale now at the UK Column shop. We hope to see as many of you there as possible. Please pick up your ticket. They're on sale at an early bird price at the moment. Please have a look and decide if you want to come. We look forward to meeting everybody that's there. Now, let's have a look at the war situation at the moment. And you'd be impressed to know that Ukraine has taken delivery of its first F-16s, allegedly. Lots of mainstream media talking about this at the moment, but mostly relying on unnamed sources. We're not clear at this point whether any of them will actually take to the air while they're in Ukrainian airspace, or who will be piloting them, in fact, because, of course, the Ukrainians don't have anybody that can fly them at this stage and won't have for quite some time. But in the meantime, this article, this is an opinion piece in the New York Times. Only a strong US no to Israel will stop war in Lebanon. In fact, the print version of this uses the word total, so we'll stop total war in Lebanon. In fact, total regional war is what this is talking about. So if we just have a look at what they're saying here, if Israel goes further and launches a major operation to uproot Hezbollah, which right-wing members of Prime Minister Netanyahu's government have been urging, it would be devastating. And they're talking about economic collapse, humanitarian crisis, and the increasing likelihood of attacks in Syria, in Iraq, Yemen, and so on. So the broadening of the conflict. None of this is in the United States' interest, says this op-ed, while making clear that it would continue to defend Israel against direct attacks by Iran, Hezbollah's patron. Washington needs to make clear to Israel that it will not sanction such a war or facilitate it by supplying munitions, joining the Israeli military in attacks against Hezbollah, or providing diplomatic cover for the deaths of civilians. So if that is the position of the opinion piece in the New York Times, that the US should be absolutely pushing against Israel on this, I wonder what the opinion of the new, or the potential new vice president is, because Mark was talking about J.D. Vance last week. Let's just have a listen to this. This is from the Cato Institute a couple of months ago when he was speaking.
There's another reason, actually, motivated by my view that America can't do everything. We have to sort of ask ourselves, what do we want out of our Israeli allies? And more importantly, what do we want out of all of our allies writ large? Do we want clients who depend on us, who can't do anything without us? Or do we want real allies who can actually advance their interests? So my biggest criticism of our approach in Ukraine is that it has no strategic end in sight, and it's not leading anywhere that's going to ultimately be good for our country. We are subsidizing the Europeans to do nothing. The Europeans are not carrying their fair share of the burden, especially when it comes in provision of weapons, and they're deindustrializing their own country at the same time that they say that Putin must be defeated at all costs. But I actually think that Washington, at least current Washington leadership, really likes the fact that the Europeans are completely dependent on us. That's not an alliance. These people aren't increasingly allies. They are client states of the United States of America who do whatever we want them to do. Well, I think we have a real opportunity to ensure that Israel is an ally in the true sense, that it's going to pursue their interests, and sometimes those interests won't totally overlap with the United States, and that's totally reasonable, but they are fundamentally self-sufficient. And I think the way that we get there in Israel is actually by combining the Abraham Accords approach with the defeat of Hamas that gets us to a place where Israel and the Sunni nations can play a regional counterweight to Iran. Again, we don't want a broader regional war. We don't want to get involved in a broader regional war. The best way to do that is to ensure that Israel, with the Sunni nations, can actually police their own region of the world. And that allows us to spend less time and less resources on the Middle East and focus more on East Asia. In the same way that we want our own allies to do the job in Europe so that we can focus on East Asia, I think that the same is true of the Sunni nations in Israel and the Middle East. We want to focus more on East Asia.
So that should be absolutely clear to everybody. And actually, this narrative is pretty much what Trump was pushing while he was president. If you remember him attending the inauguration of the new NATO headquarters in Brussels in 2018 or so, and he was talking about the fact that that Europe was not paying its way and so on. But so what JD Vance is saying there very, very clearly is that the United States wants Europe to deal with Putin, wants Israel to deal with Iran, so that it can deal with China. He was very clear there he wasn't saying that they didn't want a regional war in the Middle East. He was saying they don't want to be involved in the regional war in the Middle East because they want to focus on Asia, right? So I think that is pretty clear what he's saying. This is what the Trump presidency, should he become president, is going to represent. Mark, very briefly, I don't know if you've got any thoughts on that.
Yeah, briefly, Mike. I like what I hear for the most part. I'm hearing a increasingly non-interventionist, what used to be insulted as a isolationist stance, but a non-interventionist stance, at least to a reasonable degree. And I like his distinction between client and an ally. A real ally can stand on their own 2 feet, love them or hate them, but a client, or less than that, is an overly dependent other nation that is going to go the wrong way and then increasingly lean on the U.S. taxpayers. So compared to past administrations, Mr. Vance is sounding pretty promising on a scale of 1 to 5, with a 5 being pretty good. I give him at least a 3.5, maybe a 4 at this point.
Right. Well, we can talk about this more in extra, but I'm going to say I completely disagree with you on that. But we'll talk about more on that in extra.